We not doing 2 for Tuesday. We doing 2 for Thursday. 2 for Thursday. 2 for Thursday. We doing 2 for Thursday. Oh my God. Save to watch later for short. Jesus, that's beautiful. 2 for Tuesday. Say, 2, what day are we on? Thursday. 2 for Thursday. All right. Hello. Happy Thursday evening from East Coast USA to my global friends. Happy Aviation Day. I declare today Aviation Day. So welcome back, all my fine aviation enthusiast friends. Let's get this episode of the Airplane Show going. Whatever episode you want this to be, that's the episode that this is going to be. So whatever name you want to give this episode, that's what you can name it. I don't know what the name of this episode is. Flicks for Qantas. I don't know. Let's see here. Let me, yeah, this flight just took off a little bit ago, actually. I'm sorry. It actually just landed out there in Australia land. So we're going to do live weather for this and turn on traffic and stuff. We're not going to do live time because this flight took off at like 6:19 in the morning, so we're going to try to keep that accurate. So let's go ahead and put on AI. Let's do like 35. Let's do like 35 here. Let's do like 35 here. Do like 35 here. Do like 35 here. Let's do 35. Now, I don't remember if I've ever used the Qantas livery, so when we get into the airplane, we may have to actually like set it up. You know, make sure all the everythings are good inside the airplane. You'll see when we get there. All right, we can turn photogrammetry on and live weather as well. And let's go ahead and turn to ATC on. Yeah, I guess so. So this one here, that lets our GigaChad co-pilot answer for us. And ATC enforce the flight plan, yes, and voices, yes. Right, so that's all done. Let's go ahead. I thought I already chose the plane, but I guess I didn't. Make sure there's no updates. No updates. All right, my hangar. That plane we just landed in Aspen, Colorado earlier today. Now we are switching gears and into a jetliner. So we got the Boeing 737-800. And let's go ahead and give ourselves the Qantas livery. Qantas, Spirit of Australia. All right, let's get to Brisbane Airport. We're on live weather. FYBBN. Gate 24, that's the gate that this thing parked at today. You can find gate 24. Oh, small, that's interesting. All right, and let's put ourselves at it's like 5:30-ish. It took off at 6:19, so. All right, let's go flying. Let's make sure that everything is set up. So, like I said, I don't remember the last time I flew this livery. I don't know if I flew this livery after I reloaded, after I reinstalled the game. So we're gonna have to go into the FMC real quick and just double check some of the settings. I want to make sure I have failures turned on. I want to make sure I have just some things turned on. Let's see here. It's pretty bright for 5:30 in the morning. Is it really 5:30 in the morning? I'll be damned, sure is. Wow, that's kind of bright. All right, let's come down here. Actually, we'll use this one because if it is set up properly, this is the one I like to use for all the settings. So let's hold the menu button in, and we're going to go into setup. And let me just, all right, well, that's a good start. Cold and dark GPU, that's one of my settings. Let me see if we have this other setting up here. Yeah, we got the 3 buttons here. That lets us do a category 3 landing. You know what? We might be okay. Let me back up a little bit. All right, we have the new receivers. We have the heads-up display. You know, I think we're okay. Let me just make sure that we have failures turned on, and that we have the right kind of control. Actually, let me just run through them all real quick. All right, that's good. I could have, if I wasn't running my mouth, we could have been pretty much done this already. I was overthinking things a little bit. All right, let's see here. So default transition level is not going to be 18,000. Let's see what our transition level is tonight. Transition altitude is 10,000 feet, so L100. That's good. That's good. That's good. That's good. That's good. That's good. Okay, that's all good. Displays. Kilograms. All right, that's good. All right, failures. Random service-based failures are on. That's good. And let's go to options and simulation. This will be the last one we go to. All right, barometers are in sync. That's good. That's good. 8x speed, auto time compression. All right, that's good. And rudder only. All right, yeah, so this is good. All right, so this is all good. So let's come here to actions. And I don't know if we should, like, have the trucks and shit come. Like, I kind of don't really want to today. You guys have seen me do that before. Let me show you how to set it up without having all the trucks and the jetway and all that kind of stuff. So we're going to go to fuel, and we're going to type in the amount of fuel that we need. So this flight needs 8,300 total kilograms. And our payload, we have, according to SimBrief, we have 184 passengers. So we're maxed on passengers. That's good. And our cargo is 4,600. So we're going to type in, say, 1,000 here and 3,600 in the rear. All right, so that's good. 30.6 is our center of gravity. So now what we need to do is, let's come under here. Now there's no fuel showing here yet because we haven't turned the airplane on. But we're going to type in that 8,300 number there. Let's type in 8,300. Let's come here to passengers and type in 160. And let's go ahead and put 1,000 here. So since we already programmed the correct numbers in that previous menu, now when we come here, now it's all set. So there's no reason to request the loaders. It's even now. There's no reason to have the passengers come. We're good there. And once we start up the airplane and the systems register the fuel, should show about 8,300 there. So that's all good. Let's get our airplane started up now. So now we don't have to worry about the trucks or the people getting on board. That's all done now, which means we can load up our flight plan a bit quicker. So let's put our battery on. Let's put our ground power on. Go ahead and turn on our anti-collision lights. See, is that somebody texting me or is that something else? Oh, that's just something else. All right, and let's come down here. Let's do actions, and we'll do FMC. Let's click the clear button and position initialization. All right, let's come up here and turn on our IRS. So first we're going to move this to heading /STS. And we're going to put this on nav and this one on nav. Now we can come down here. And let's go ahead and see, now that showed up. So now we can set our position. That should be our position. Yep, that is. I just checked it in our flight plan. So now we got that. And let's set that position. Now, once these screens come on and everything is initialized, we'll go ahead and load up our flight plan. Let's see here. Let's come over here. And I want to show you that now the fuel shows that we have 8,300. See, now that we have everything turned on, so let's go ahead and release the stairs that are outside. So we're going to turn the APU on here pretty quickly. And all right, so those stairs are going to back away. A little pickup truck, I guess, or whatever kind of truck that is. All right, so that's good. And we'll just come back here and disconnect the ground power momentarily. Let's go ahead and set up our flight plan. So let's click on route. That's a pretty straightforward flight plan today. We have YBBN. There's no ILS landing at this airport, so we are going to do an RNAV landing today, which is pretty simple in this plane. Yeah, check us out when we're getting ready to land. You'll see how the magic happens. Pretty straightforward process, very similar to an ILS landing. QFA, today at least it is, because there's a VOR station at the airport. When there's a VOR station available, you can land very similar to an ILS landing. If there's no VOR station, then you have to manually descend, using either the autopilot system or manually doing it yourself. But when you have a VOR station, there's a glide path that you can activate, and it's very similar to a glide scope. So it's not as precise, but it's a very good system. All right, so that's our flight number, QFA1076. Let's go to departure arrival. We're going to do runway 19 left today, and we're doing WACO 3. Let's go to the next page. Let's click WACO 3. Go to route. We can activate that. Execute. Let's go to the next page. Here we are entering in our first airway. So that is V250. So let's type in V250. Again, over here on the left. And then our exit point for that airway is UNEAT. So UNEAT. Execute. And we have one more airway. So we have J89. And we're taking that to MA, which is actually the airport we're going to, but we're going to break off early for the landing that we're doing. All right, now let's come back to departure arrival, and let's choose our arrival. So we have RNAV U34. RNAV U34. Our transition is MA546. Very good. Let's go ahead and be sure there's no discontinuities or vectors. Usually is. Okay, so let's go ahead and check our route, because I think we're going to get rid of this waypoint here, I think. Actually, you know what? I can look on Wacko. Let me look on this map here. Yeah, we will. Okay, so let me show you this. So let's come up here. Let's change this knob here to flight plan. And let's go ahead and click on the legs button so it brings us back to the beginning. And on the bottom right, see steps. We're going to click on steps, and that's going to cycle us through the flight plan that we have set up so far. All right, if you notice that Sarek we just passed. So our flight plan right now wants to go from Sarek to MA, which is right here. Here's our landing. So let me show you that again. So what we're going to do is when we get to Sarek, we're going to break off. I'm sorry, we're going to continue to go straight a little bit and then break off for our landing. So we need to get rid of this MA here. So in this airplane, what we need to do is click the left button next to the waypoint underneath the discontinuity, and then click on the discontinuity line. Execute that, and now let's do the same thing again. If you had vectors here, it would be the same thing. Vectors, discontinuity, it's essentially the same thing. Vectors they use in real life, but we don't have a real ATC that's guiding us, so we try to get rid of vectors when it's a simulator like this. So, all right, MA, and then let's click this button again, and let's click. And now, when we continue our steps, now have our landing. So instead of going straight to the airport, now this is the beginning of our RNAV landing. And there we go. Come here, we come here, we come here, and we come here. So instead of there being a straight line now from Sarek to MA, now we have our landing in. Did not put our cruise information in yet because I haven't brought over the weights yet. So if I was to enter the cruising altitude now, once I bring over all the weights and all that, it's going to generate a different altitude. So I'm going to, input this during the limit. So we already have all the weights taken care of. We can now click here, performance initialization requests. Takes a few seconds to bring over. Should say load here momentarily. There we go, let's click load. Yes, it has us at 38,000 feet. We're cruising at 30,000 feet today. we have calculated in SimBrief, and I believe that's what they flew in real life as well. All right, so it says using reserve fuel because we haven't put anything here in the plan yet. So first of all, let's change our transition altitude. That's 10,000 feet. And it's also saying reserve fuel because we don't have the correct altitude in. Let's change our cruising altitude to 30,000 feet. That might get rid of that. Might not. We may have to actually. So it still says it. So let's go back here. Our cost index is 5. Okay. Our cruise wind is 235. Well, let's get rid of that error message first. So we're actually using 8.05, so we'll say 8.1 is how much fuel we're using for our trip today. So let's plug in 8.1. That should get rid of that error message now that we have the flight plan fuel put in there. Let's plug in our cruise wind. According to SimBrief, it's 235 is the direction, and 35 is the knots. Okay, so your fuel is 11.42, so it's 1.1, it looks like, our reserve number. All right, let's see, maybe that'll fix it. All right, let's put our winds in for our descent. Now, in Xbox, like I'm using, we don't have a way to bring the forecast in automatically, which is strange because in the Dreamliner, we can bring them in automatically. Here we can't. Again, let's change our transition level. We're not in America, so it's not 18,000 feet. 10,000 feet over here, and according to SimBrief, we're almost ready to fire up the APU and fire up the engine. So we have 20,000, 15,000, 10,000. And 20,000 is 2, 25, and 12. 15,000, it's 171 and 13. And at 10,000, it's 156 and 14. We're almost done setting everything up. All right, very good. Let's come back here. There's nothing on page 2 that we need. Let's come here to N1 limit. Now, I usually do 30 degrees over this number. I don't know if that's what they do in real life, but that's what I do here. And it usually works out pretty well for me. All right, so that's it for N1. Let's go to takeoff. Now, here I always go to page 2 first. And I plug in the ground conditions. I also enter this information, which I can get right from Navigraph. So Navigraph, wind speed is 202 knots. 200 is the speed at 2 knots. And the slope of our runway here is 0.01. So it's more than likely just going to say 1, but nonetheless, we're still going to plug it in. Now we can go back to this page. This was already calculated when we did our payload, in the system over here on the co-pilot side. And flaps 5 should be fine. Let's see what flaps 10 is, if that's anything better. Right, so trim is 3.4 there, and trim is, yeah, let's do this one. right, so we are all set up in the FMS right now, in the FMC. More than likely, we're going to have to confirm these once we put our flaps down. But for now, we're okay. If you notice that fuel reserve warning is not coming on anymore. So let's go ahead and get our EPU started. So let's come here and let's click on this. And let's come here and add on. We can turn on the APU bleed. And lower this here. And let's do the right thing and secure our passengers for the day. This is going to go all the way up and then all the way back down. Once it gets around this area here, this light should come on and then we can put on our generators. Wait a few seconds after that and then we can go ahead and turn the ground power off at that point. In the meantime, we can turn on our directors. Our takeoff heading is 196. And let's change this again to map. And that all the way down. And let's click on data. That will give us information for each of for waypoints that have speed constraints or altitude constraints. It'll show up in magenta now on our flight plan. All right, very good. These are on, so let's turn these on. And we'll wait a few seconds. Make sure everything is working properly, and then we'll go ahead and turn off ground power. Let's check. Is there really no chart for this? Oh, that's pretty wild. I thought there was a chart. All right, here we go. RNPZ. That's very interesting. They don't have our landing in AVAF. Just cut out, I think. Here. Friends have been doing that last couple of days. All right, let's go ahead and plug in our approach elevation. I'm not worried about it that we don't have it. I mean, we're still lining up to the same runway. I just find it to be very strange that they don't have our landing in Navigraph. They just have Z. So, whatever. All right, let's come over here and disconnect the ground power. And let's come to pushback. And, oh yeah, we know we need to contact the AT soon. I hope they give us the correct runway. I hope they do. All right, let's come up here. Let me turn it on, actually. All right, let's see here. Depart straight out. All right, good. It gave us the correct runway. Let me let this finish, and then I'm going to check I got to check the pressure, the barometric pressure, and set that. All right, let's turn this on. Let's just put a little bit of flood on. And let's come down here. Turn this one down just a little bit. Put this one up. And this one a little bit. And we turn this one down just a little bit. Turn this one up. Check our barometric pressure. We have 29.86, so let's set that. All right, we can. All right, so 29.86. So let's click on this button here. Now that is set. We can turn our yaw dampener on now. Let's turn on the window heat. And the electronic hydraulic pumps. And let's go ahead and get our pushback going here. So let's make sure our parking brake is on. Go ahead and we can move the tops. Select our tug. And push straight out. And which way are we going here? Our nose should be to the left. Well, I think it's from inside the cockpit. I usually get this wrong, but let's try it. Nose to the left is correct.
Go ahead. We've been cleared for pushback and start. They want the tail to our right. Copy that. Ready for push tail right. Release brake brake, please. Brakes released.
Do we have fuel in the center tank? Not really. So we'll leave the center tank off. Let's turn on this. This.
Brakes released. Here we go.
Go ahead and click on this. Put that on ground. Wait for N2 to get up a little bit. And we can put our fuel on for engine 1. Damn it, I did it again. I was pushed back the wrong way. Oh, you know, I did do it the way I... Shit, such an idiot. I did do it the way I set it up. It nose to the left. Alright, it's fine. We'll just push this back and we'll just make a big U-turn. What's wrong? I shouldn't, as many times as I've flown this plane. You'd think I'd get it right, but... all good. You got plenty of space to make a U-turn.
Pushback complete. Parking brake set.
Right, so now we can come down here and deactivate the tug. Come here. Let's put legs there. On menu. FMS. And we're going to go to... let's go to takeoff because we're going to have to confirm these probably. All right, let's go ahead and activate engine number 2. Wait for N2 to start jumping. Turn on this fuel pump. Turn on our transponder. Weather is not simulated in this airplane, so there's no reason to use weather. The heads-up display we'll leave alone. We will be adjusting this for our descent and our approach today. Set our brakes for takeoff. Let's engage our generators. And let's go ahead and put this on auto. And put our packs on auto. And we can now turn this off. Our taxi lights on. Logo lights. Wing. Wheel. And let's put our flaps down to 5. See, we have to verify this again, so we have 148. Let's add 15 to that, so that's 163. Let's put 163 here. And do we have any altitude constraints for our takeoff? No, we don't. Well, we can leave it at 10,000 for now. All right, let's release the parking brake and taxi to the runway. Turn around. Give me 1 second. Brake back on, yeah. For some reason, lately with these airplanes, I need to go back here and do this, and then do that. And now it should turn properly. It wasn't turning properly before. So, all right, that's good, and we can go to progress here. And for some reason, I've been having to do that lately. I don't know why. Very weird. Yeah, see, like it's turning much better now. According to PMDG, the documents that come with this airplane, you can turn like something about turning 70% when you do rudder only. But when you do rudder and tiller, your turning is like a certain percentage with the rudder, a certain percentage with tiller, but I can still turn with the tiller. That's the thing. Like I can turn right now by using the thumbstick on the left. You know, the thumbstick on the left, or I can use the triggers for the rudder. It's weird. Like I didn't think I'd be able to do that if I was only using rudder, but not arguing. If that's the way they want it, that's fine. I just, for some reason, have to go in and do what I just did. Go from rudder to the other input, back to rudder. For our landing, we're going to switch the way this looks. The landing today, when I set it up, this whole side's going to be gone. This whole side's going to be gone. We're going to program it so the reticle lines up smack dab in the middle of the touchdown zone. It's pretty easy to set up. It's just really, you click one button to change the look of this, and then we have to input the height of the runway and the length of the runway, and then that should put the reticle right smack dab in the middle. That's that. Let's turn on traffic. Make sure GigaChad's on plan. We're about 18, 19 knots on the ground right now. I've never heard of this part of Australia until about an hour ago. I got on Flight Aware and I just plugged in 738, and I was looking at every 738 that's taking off, landing, anything that's active. It doesn't show ones that are waiting or ones that are scheduled, but it shows ones that are currently active. And I saw this airport, and I was like, never heard of Mount Isis before. Sure enough. I'm going to be doing that today, and then that'll be it for the airplane shows for today. I have a couple of things to do for a new job after I use this tonight. And I might download Subnautica and maybe come back home and start doing that maybe. Got the itch to play Subnautica again. It's only $9 right now. I have a $9 gift certificate. I have enough points with Xbox where I can get $10. Might be doing that. I never played Subnautica on like the next generation console. Kind of excited about that. Looks like we got to take off and turn immediately to the right. I'm excited for this flight. I love flying over Australia, and I really enjoy flying this plane. This is, I say it with every plane that I fly, that it's my favorite plane. So I'm gonna say this is my favorite plane. You look at my stream from earlier, where we flew to Aspen. I said the exact same thing with the Cessna. I'm sure tomorrow when I do another plane. This is Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020. I'm on an Xbox Series S right now. Welcome, Mr. Patel. How you doing tonight? Or this morning, depending on where you're located. All right, let's get our clearance. Damn it. All right, let's go ahead and arm the auto throttle, arm LNAV, and let's arm VNAV. And once we start rolling, we have to click on this screw right here, and that'll give us, that'll put us in toga speed. So let's go ahead and release the parking brake. And let's get moving. Just started using a mouse with this, and I'm not sure why I waited so long, but using a mouse makes things way easier at times in this simulator. way easier, because then I can just stay in flying mode with the controller. I don't have to worry about going into the other mode to interact with some of the buttons. All right, so we're pretty much lined up. Let's give it a little bit of juice. And let's click toga. I think this is a long runway because V speed is kind of high. Usually it's like 135, 136, not usually 140 something. Pull back.
Positive rate of climb.
Gear up. We do have to lock the landing gear. We'll do that momentarily. I can't do that from here. Right now I have to be in cursor mode. We'll wait to about 1,500 feet or so before we engage the autopilot. And we can put our first, we'll wait a little bit, put our flaps up. Actually, we can put our first set of flaps up now. Let's do that. And let's go ahead and...
Airspeed low.
There we go. That's all good. Let's go ahead and interact with this.
Airspeed low. Airspeed low.
Dude, the airspeed is okay. Why are you tripping? Alright, we can almost put up the flaps now all the way. Well, the flaps are up, we gotta put the slats up. Alright, let's put the slats up. And we are good to go. We got the gear locked. We're in VNAV mode. We got photogrammetry turned on so we can look at the buildings in 3D. Plenty of speed. I don't know why it was shouting at me. We were good. All right, let's increase our altitude. So next one, 15.4, so let's plug that in. And goodbye, east coast of Australia. Next stop, middle of Australia. Mount Coot-tha. I wonder when the developers are making this game, like, what made them choose certain points of interest, because there's a lot of points of interest in this game. Like, if you, anywhere we go in the world, any place you fly over, there's just tons of these markers. Some of these are airports, but for the most part, they are points of interest. You know, some are helicopter pads. 2985, let's set that. We can put up our heads-up display. We don't need that anymore for a while. Go ahead and put our landing lights up. And we are getting ready to transition, so we're going to use the mouse for that. If I don't, it creates a big problem. See how this kind of flashes really slowly? If I was to use my controller for that, it starts flashing rapidly, and then this goes from standard to this number here rapidly, and usually, but the last time that happened to me, by the time I was able to get control of this again, the barometer dropped so low that it dropped our altitude like 3,000 feet. So now I just use mouse. So I have to use the mouse for that, and also for speed brakes when I use the speed brakes. Right now we're increasing our speed, climb speed, so that's kind of why we leveled out a little bit. As we get up to this area here, we'll start pitching up again. And let's plug in our next 20,800. I mean, we really could just put in 30,000, but, you know, we'll just do it in steps. I've used that airport before. Wiltshire South Airport. I think I flew the Mitsubishi MU-2 from there to Sydney, I think it was. Plug in our cruising altitude. They're all set. This landing though has kind of got me thinking though. Oops. Apple Pen came out of charging. According to this, we have Z. But in here we have U. How are we able to do that? A18. A2SI. It's essentially the same thing. Why don't we do that? Set up a different landing. Let's do RNAV-Z. So let's see. RNAV-Z. And we're gonna do transition MA2SA. We're going to do SB. which one should I do? It's 5 miles. Well, it's both 5 miles. Then we have about 10 miles to the airport. We'll do this one. This is going to be more challenging, this one here. Let's do that. All right, let's go to legs. Okay, so Zarek and then, right, so. And it's not above 3,300. Right at 3,300, so let's type that in. 10, 3,300. And 2SI is not over 3,300, so let's use that as well. Okay, very good. And 2SF is, oh, that's way wrong. Oh, no, I think that's okay. 3,300, 2S, 2,900. That's good. All right, we're good for the rest of the trip now. The only thing we'll do is adjust the RNP, the required navigation performance. We'll fix that as we get a little closer. I'm going to keep the old one. I think that's what the plane flew today. When I was looking at it just now in Flight Aware, let's actually come here and begin the arrival that we had, the approach that we had before. Not trying to be indecisive, I'm just trying to keep it as close to the original as possible. Was our nav U, our transition is MA546. Go back to legs and connect our flight plan. And let's make this 37. Okay, let's change this to 240, 4,700. And we need to fix a few things here. So we need to go here and delete that. And we need to click on this again. Back a page. Like this. And we need to click on this. Delete that line. And one more time. But now it's all correct. MA546, 522, 518, and then the runway. Okay, now it's correct. Let's do that. We'll stick with the original plan. We're about at our top of climb, pretty close to it. I like the livery on Qantas. It's pretty cool looking. It's clean looking. I honestly say I've never flown over this part of Australia before. Once we level out, we look at the top of descent and make a decision if we're going to speed up or not. There we are, we're at the top of our climb. A few things we got to do to set up for our approach today, but we have time to do that. We have time to do it. I am short on my medicine. Jesus Christ. What's tomorrow? Friday? Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Oof. I always run low on my medicine this time of the month. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday. So if I just cut out a few milligrams each day, I'll be okay. It's no big deal. Ladies and gentlemen, we reached our cruising altitude. We'd like to thank you today for flying Qantas. For us here at the Qantas family, we appreciate your patronage today. Flight attendants will be around momentarily with complimentary snacks. Alcohol is available for purchase. If you need our Wi-Fi code is in the seat back in front of you. Other than that, sit back, enjoy your flight. We'll be at Mount Isis on time today. Weather is looking good. About 22 degrees Celsius. And clear skies. I don't sound like a pilot. I wonder if they teach pilots how to talk. Like if a real pilot ever watches this and you're listening to the words coming out of my face right now, answer that question for me. I'm very curious about that, actually. Because a lot of pilots sound the same. Curious if pilots are taught to talk like that in flight school. Same inflection in their voice, same kind of cadence that they're talking. I was always curious about that. But if a real pilot can answer that question, that would be awesome. Do you learn how to talk over the intercom to the people in the people you're flying? They teach you how to talk to them while you're in flight school, because every pilot sounds pretty much the same. Right, how long do we have to our descent? Whoa, I didn't realize the flight was that long. All right, we're going to speed up a little bit here. Go 40 miles out. And let's click on this button right here. And let's go 8 times speed. These dogs next door to me, man, the people that live next door to me, they are so mean to their dogs. Like they leave their dogs out pretty much all year round, 24/7. Doesn't matter if it's freezing outside, if it's super hot outside, but it's a big short-haired golden retriever and like a little wiener dog. And I mean, neither one of those dogs are built to be outside in the wintertime. Summertime, maybe, depending on how hot it gets, but definitely not. And there's no shelter out back for them that I know of. But that little dog gets abused by that big dog. That big dog is always growling at him. And look at our mileage going down. That's a beautiful thing. Look at that. Tick, 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 tick. Helps. It helps the speed if I stay in this mode, right? Like if I stay in this kind of camera angle. If I was to go outside, the outside can't render that quickly, so it doesn't stay at this speed. And with this PMDG plane that we're flying, when we get to a waypoint, it slows down automatically and speeds back up again. Same thing with turns. If we were going to be making a turn, it slows down for the turn and then speeds back up again. See, watch, we're going to be making this little turn here. It's going to slow down about a half a mile from maybe a mile from the waypoint. And then once we pass it, it'll speed back up again. We still got quite a do to set up for our approach. We still have to plug in the frequency, have to program the course. So here we go. We slowed down about a half a mile out. We still have to set up the heads-up display. We have to plug in the elevation of the runway, the length of the runway, the heads-up display, and then we also need to program our FMS for the required navigation performance for tonight. Right now it's on 1. We're going to lower that threshold to like 0.3. And we should be able to do a glide path landing because there's a VOR station. So when we land, usually an ILS landing here, it would say GS for glide slope. Tonight it should say G/P. And then instead of saying LOR for localizer, it should say FAC for final approach. I forget what the FAC stands for. It's final approach something, I think. Final approach course, I think. It's not as precise as an ILS landing, but it does a really good job. Like, it won't land the plane for you, but it'll bring you down close enough to where, you can get within 500 feet, the runway. Sometimes it'll bring you down really close to the runway. And I like that because I like to sit outside the airplane and watch it land. Last couple of flights I haven't been able to do that. That landing at Aspen today was interesting. We did it though in a big snowstorm. We landed. I couldn't see. Aspen's already hard enough to land at, even when it's clear skies. But we landed in a major snowstorm, and we couldn't see the ground until we were about 200 or 300 feet above the ground. So it took a little bit of practice before I could do it. I practiced a bit last night and this morning. When you're about 7.5 miles out of the airport, you got to go down you have to nosedive. Too big of a deal when you can see the ground, but when you're in a snowstorm, you can't see anything. Okay. There's a little bit of a problem. I'll change the view here momentarily. We'll slow down a little bit. We're making pretty good time with our mileage right now. have 480 or 400. I think that's 400. Just under 400 miles now to the top of descent. You can go 16x with this system here, but PMDG, developers of this airplane, they kind of recommend that you don't go 16x. Should be a good year for the flight simulator. From what I read, there's a lot of good stuff coming out this year. There's a A380, there's an A350. InnoBuilds has a new Airbus that just launched on X-Plane, which should make its way over here soon. There is a 777 coming out. There's a few more Piper small planes coming out. So there's a lot of good things in the works for this coming year. So it should be a good year for flight simulator, for sure. All right, when we pass this here, let's go ahead and slow down a little bit and kind of hang outside for a little bit. I've never flown over this part of Australia before, so I want to see. I know, like Western Australia, the ground is like super red, which is awesome. I just get so amazed, like what had to have happened over the years to make the ground look the way it does. You know, like how much water has been like smashed against the, you know, just like to make the grooves and the indentations with a lot of these parts of the world. Like how many millions of years did it take to get it like that? Was this all underwater at one point and the water rocking back and forth cut down the rocks to look like this thing? I don't know if anybody truly knows. I know there's people out there that claim that they know, but some of them sound very convincing. I've listened to a few of them on Joe Rogan's podcast. You know, when they talk about like the Young Adrias tribe and the ice sheets melting from the Antarctic, you know, like millions of years ago. But like, how do they know there were ice sheets that melted? You know what I mean? Like, I know they can take ground samples and kind of see what happened when, but like, how do you really know? Maybe you dig down deep enough and you look at the layers and you can see like a million years ago it was underwater. But if it was underwater, how do you know that it came from these big ice sheets that melted? Like, I don't know. It's an interesting thing to think about. And I'm okay with them. You know, I don't really have an opinion on it one way or the other. I'm not educated enough to really form an opinion, but they sound very convincing. And then they give their talking points. And right, let's set up the cockpit for our descent. Not so much our descent, but let's get some things together for our landing. So let's come down here first to the heads-up display. And what we're going to do is click on mode. Now, I believe the I is for like ILS, and I think this V is for visual. Either way, the setup changes a lot, makes it really easy to land. I'll pull it up here in a moment. Let's click on runway first. So the elevation of this runway is 1111. And the length of this runway is 8399. Right, very good. So now our heads-up display is now set up for our approach. And, you know, if we come up here and if you look at the heads-up display now, you remember what it looked like when we took off. It had all this, you know, it had our speed over here, it had our altitude over here. Now it's nice and clean. This reticle now is going to line up with the touchdown zone since we inputted the information in. So it has mode we're in for vertical, for lateral, for speed, for Mach number, wind, the type of what we have programmed in for our frequency. If it's a DME or a VOR, still have our course that we plug in, our ground speed. This has our altitude and what our angle is going to be, like our vertical feet per minute or feet per second. Our Mach number is right here. Our indicated airspeed is right here. And then we have our actual heading coordinates. Not so much as we're heading, but just, showing you this is where 270 is, 280, 290 and such. So that's all set up now. We can put that away until we begin our approach. The course for tonight is the charts and the one for RNAV-Z. Our course is 342. We're going to set up both sides. 42. And the EOR station is 117.5. Let's set that up here. 1175. Activate. And let's do the same over here. 1175. And activate. We're pretty much set. The only thing we're going to do as we begin the approach, like when we get close to MA546, we're going to change this required navigation performance. We're going to change it from 2, we're going to change it to 0.3. Right now, this is telling our system, you're required to be within this threshold for navigation performance. This is our actual navigation performance here. We're going to make it work a little harder tonight. We're going to put it at 0.3. So usually on the landing charts, it'll tell you what it requires, and sometimes it has different requirements for different phases of the approach. This chart doesn't show anything, so usually when it shows nothing, I just put in 0.3. But sometimes it'll say 0.11 or 0.90. But once we begin our approach, I'll switch that over. And in this mode here for progress, we go to page 4. You see how it has approach 0.3, so it's already looking at that's what it's going to be. We just have to come over here and program it. But I like this mode because once we start descending, this vertical deviation here, it shows us in feet if we're too high or too low. It'll say like minus 50 or 50 if we're over or under 50 feet. So I do like this mode when we're doing a landing, because we are doing our nav landing, required navigation performance landing. So that's what we're doing tonight, this morning, depending on where you're located at. We got 289 until our descent. We'll hang outside for a little bit, and then we'll come back in and speed up again. Very interesting flying over this part of the world versus Midwest USA, because Midwest USA, it's all like perfect circles. It's interesting seeing the shadows from the clouds. I guess that's shadows from the clouds, I guess. Yeah, maybe not. Maybe that's actually on the ground. Yeah, we got everything set up for our approach. One thing we need to do before we descend is, change our altitude that we're going to go down to, and just reactivate VNav. Actually, that reminds me. Let's do altitude hold right now. And we should be at, let's see if our Mach number is correct. According to SimBrief, we should be at, it's close enough. It says 0.70, so that's close enough. We got 278. Yeah, let's speed up a little. Oh, wait a minute. Do we have a... Oh, that's 87 miles. All right. Yeah, let's go ahead and speed up a little bit. Get a little 8x speed action going. You do have to stay in this general area of the camera view. I generally have to stay in this kind of mode, because when we're doing this speed here, we're moving so fast that the Series S can't render the outside quick enough, so we actually wind up slowing down quite a bit. In order to achieve 8x speed, I really have to kind of stay in this kind of view. We never disarmed the auto brake from takeoff. Why is it that it doesn't go off automatically? In a lot of planes, this switches back to off automatically once we take off and put the landing gear up. And when we get about a half a mile out of here, the system switches automatically to regular speed. Make the turn, and then about a half a mile after the waypoint, our system will go ahead and start speeding up again. There we go. You can see we slowed down now. You can see the... And once we finish this turn and we level out again, we'll start picking up speed again. I'll leave the 8x speed on until we get about 50 miles. I guess maybe about 50 miles out of our descent, because I can see over here it says 2211. So 10:11 Zulu time, 10:11 PM UTC time, that's when we're expected to start our descent. And we're currently at 21:45 Zulu time, so... And if we were not sped up, that's the time that it would take, so about 26 minutes, 25 minutes. It'll be quite a bit less than that since we're sped up. There's our local time. Now, it doesn't look like we're sped up, but we are. You can see it's almost a mile a second. Let's wait for this nautical mile. Let's get down to about 50, and then we'll take ourselves off of the sped up. I know this is kind of boring, but it is what it is. Like, there's no way to make this part exciting. I could sing a song, do a little dance for y'all if you want, but I don't know if you would like that or not. Oh, I never changed the flight info. Damn it. Still yo mama. Usually when I do these flights based off of real life flights, I usually change it to flight number QFA, whatever it is. I knew I was forgetting something. Oh well, it is what it is. I guess the call sign and flight number tonight is Yo Mama. Alright, so we're about 80 miles away. when we get to 40 miles out of our descent, 40 miles away from the top of our descent, I'll go ahead and switch modes. We still have to set up. We still have to set up for approach, so we'll do that when we get a little closer. I guess we could do it now. Let's click this, and then click that, and now we're all set up. You have to plug in a speed and flap setting here, and we have +5 for our wind direction in case there's a wind gust. Oh shit, we need to slow down. Sitting here running my mouth. I didn't realize we were that close. We're only 12 miles out. Let's go ahead and lower our altitude here. Let's lower that to, let's do 4,700. That's what's on the deal there. And let's go ahead and click on VNAV and arm that. And now we will begin our descent. You can see it says top of descent there, that T/D number. And momentarily, see a vertical deviation indicator show up here. And we'll also see it on this display here. One thing I do like to do when we're descending is go to the Copilot side, our GigaChad Copilot side, switch this to map, okay? And then I like to click this twice, once, and then twice. Now this puts us in a mode, so when we start descending, it'll show our angle, our altitude, it'll have the waypoints that'll pop up. I do like that mode when we're descending. And our speed reference is, I guess we'll leave that in auto. There's no reason to play with that, I guess. We'll leave that. That's if you want to change the speed reference that shows up down here. I'll just leave that in auto. In a moment now, we should start seeing that deviator show up. There we go. Here's this needle here. Here's our RNP and AMP that we talked about earlier. And now let's go ahead and switch this page like we talked about earlier. Okay. Right now we're 57 feet low. Go ahead and change our RNP over here as well. Let's do 0.3. There we go. Now we're all set. Now if everything works out properly, we will have a very nice landing. If everything works out properly. Whoa, look at the ground here. That is amazing. This is what I'm talking about. Like, what has to happen? What has to happen over the hundreds of thousands of years, the millennia, millions of years? What has to happen for the ground to actually start looking like this? All the different colors and the grooves and the cutouts and all that. Like, it's crazy. Look at all the different colors. It's one of my favorite things in this game, actually. Flying the airplanes for me is a lot of fun. I love pushing the buttons and programming things and challenge of it all since I'm not a pilot. But looking at all the ground from around the world, it's just amazing. Similar the world is everywhere, but how different it is at the same time. Similar by almost everywhere in the world, there's undulations and little mountains or big mountains and rivers and, bodies of water and stuff like that. But different because of the coloring and the height. I mean, it's amazing. This plane usually does a pretty good job with descending on its own, where I don't have to really do much in the way of speed brakes or correction or anything like that. Usually this thing does a pretty good job on its own. This is a pretty straightforward descent today, so we don't have any other altitude other than that 4,700 feet. When we get close to that, we're going to go ahead and adjust it down. We're going to continually adjust it down until we catch the glide path. And once we capture that glide path, similar to a glide slope, then that will go ahead and control our vertical. It's the side for vertical. It's vertical. There's a way to do rewind on here. Sir Downs Airport. That's an interesting name for an airport. Downs Airport. Check that airport out. Maybe we'll have to do a flight from there. Maybe I'll make like a little bush trip where we take off and land from like 5 or 6 different airports, and we'll do little short hops at 50 miles to each airport or 100 miles to each airport. It'd be kind of fun, actually. Create our own bush trip. There's a lot of bush trips that come with the flight simulator. I don't have access to a lot of them right now on the Xbox because I decided not to download any of the world scenery, because the world scenery was giving huge issues with Garmin navigation systems. Like the screens would cut off mid-flight on every single plane. So I figured out that the world scenery was a problem. And live time is also an issue, and so is live weather. So any of the planes that have the Garmin systems, navigation systems, I don't turn on traffic, I don't turn on live weather, photogrammetry, like I turn all that kind of stuff off because usually the screens go out. Doing okay so far. 89 miles to our destination, and we're only 21,000 feet, so that is good. We're doing excellent. We're requiring it to be at 0.3, and we're actually at 0.06, so that is excellent. Another thing I like as well in this airplane, if we go to fix, let's type in the airport that we're going to, YBMA. I like to set up these fixes, which is like a circle, right? So the way I set it up so there's a circle around the airport. I'm going to do 4 miles. 5 miles for the first one. That's to remind me to to make sure the landing gear is down. And I like to set one for about 10 miles out. It's kind of where I try to have flaps 15, flaps 20, somewhere in that area. So, one thing I like about it is that it shows us what radial the VOR station, we're flying towards. If we look up right now, our heading is 296. But right now, we're flying against the 162 radial for that particular VOR station. Radials, if you think of a VOR station, the radial, there's 360 radials. Radials radiate away from the station. So if you're flying a course, look at our fuel actually. Give me a second here. A little bit of an imbalance there. If you're flying towards a VOR station, you generally want to fly, your course should be the opposite of whatever the radial is. So if you're flying on a course of 200, right? The radial that you're flying against should be 180 degrees different than that. So essentially you'd be flying against a 20-degree radial. Let's turn on crossfeed. And let's open up the center tanks. I think there's fuel in the center tank. Oh, no, there's not. Okay. Turn off the center tanks then. I haven't seen that before where we get an imbalance. I do have failures turned on, so maybe maybe there's some sort of issue that's developing. Yeah, I mean, that's not good. All right, we're at 17,000. Let's check up here and check out what the barometric pressure is. You can check it on Navigraph very easily, but you guys can't see that with this particular plane, so. Wow, it's 39 degrees Celsius there right now, 102 degrees. Wow. It says 2986. I have 2988, so that's close enough. You don't have to enter that in soon. We're almost at 10,000 feet. Let me actually match. We're heading up to how we're going right now, so let's begin 296. I guess we can put up our heads-up display down as well. Turn the brightness up a bit. Very good. It should be a pretty seamless landing tonight. I mean, once we make our turn, so we're going to turn to the left and then we're going to turn to the right of the airport. But once we make that turn to the right, we should be able to click approach and should capture the glide path and the localizer. I mean, and the VOR station. So I don't know the exact altitudes that we need to be at for one of these points tonight because there's no chart available for this landing, which is the first. I've never seen Navigraph not have a chart. When I looked at FlightAware tonight and I looked at this plane land, it did the same kind of pattern that this particular approach has, so that's why I picked it. It was a much easier approach I could have done. But that's not as fun. It's not as fun when it's too easy. It could be a little challenging. pen charged yet. It's charged up. I can now take it out. That pen is pretty cool, man. I just started using one. It comes in really handy when I make thumbnails. I use this, forget the app that I use. I think it's called Hiptic or Hoptic or something like that. There's an app that I use, and the pen comes in real handy using it, because sometimes I do these cutouts where like if you look at some of the thumbnails recently, like there's an airplane kind of superimposed on top of the thumbnail, so the pen comes in real handy making the boundaries for that cutout. If you look on the screen here, let me come down and show you. Let me just click that. So this green arc right here, this is our system saying we should be at 4,700 feet at this point. If I was to change our speed, or if we were to change our descent, the altitude that we're requiring, this would move. Right now, our system is saying we should be at this altitude at this spot here. So I'm actually going to plug in 2,700 feet, because that's coming up next. So let's plug in 2,700. I like to do this in steps so I can see it on the map. That way I can make sure we're going to be at a certain altitude at a certain spot. And if we're not, then I need to take over the throttle or activate some brakes or do something. But the fuel tanks are still kind of off balance. Good thing we're close to the airport. I need to do maintenance on the airplane, get that fixed. All right, so our QNH is 2988 according to Navigraph. Let's go ahead and click standard. Let's go ahead and put in 2988. And let's come down here. We're going to click approach mode here. It gives us our horizontal and vertical deviators, our indicators. Usually the indicators show up early on this display right here versus the primary display. That usually show up pretty early here. So let's go ahead and change our zoom level. We're going to have a deceleration point coming up soon. We may have to do a little intervention with speed brakes at that point. Well, that's the airport we're supposed to land at right there. Maybe that's a different airport. That's got to be a different airport. That can't be. That's definitely not the airport we're landing at tonight. I didn't know there was two Mount Isis airports. Interesting. Strapel. Curry. That's weird. Everything is good so far. Speed is okay. Actually, I do want to kind of slow down. Let me do a speed intervention. And let's put this down to like, put it down to 2.5 or something like that. And let's put in some speed brakes. I think if we continue at that speed, I don't think we're going to make that 2,700 foot altitude. I don't think we're going to make that. What we can do is let's put some flaps down, just one set. Let's arm the speed brake now, and let's go ahead and arm our auto brake. Actually arm our approach as well. Let's see if we can do it. Let's click approach. See, FAC and GP. Hey Gavin?
Yeah.
You open the door real quick and see if we got a package from Amazon. Thank you. So as you can see, we're armed up now, right? Continuing our descent. Once we get lined up over here, this will capture, this should capture, and that'll take us down towards the runway. We could have let our system do all this for us, but I don't think it would have. I think we would have been in trouble if we left it up to the auto, like if we let it just descend at the speeds that we had here. I think we would have been in trouble. So that's why I intervened when I did. See here, 4,700, and then we're going to start going down again. You notice we stopped at 4,700. It's because that's what our VNAV shows. Once we get here, we're going to start our descent down again automatically. And now I'm going to plug in 1171. Of course, that's the height of our airport, but that's okay. And let's plug in 342 here, just in case we need to go into heading mode for some reason. Activate our landing lights. This one. Oh, you know what? We never did put our engines in flight mode. That's my bad. Should have did that when we leveled off. All right, let's slow down a little bit more. as you can see, LNAV and GP. We make this turn and we line up with the localizer, with the VOR station. This should switch over and say FAC for final approach course. And what is our light is 139 plus 5, so we'll say 144. All right, let's go. Are we in flaps 15 yet? So flaps 15. Oh shit, I didn't mean to do that. That's the landing gear. That's all right. About 9 miles out, it's no big deal. And let's come up here and plug in 134. We got flaps full. Could be turning any minute. Look how many points of interest are just right here at Mount Isis, Australia. Look at all these points of interest. Ready to turn. Here's our turn to the runway. It should say F8. Yep, there we go. FAC. As you can see, that's all picked up. This will take us very close to the ground. We'll take over manual control if we need to. And as you can see, reticle is now moving. It's now trying to fixate on the down zone, which it will once we finish lining up. I'm gonna let this plane go. I'm gonna see how close to the ground it'll go without me doing anything. 1, because I'm interested. 2, because I like looking at the outside. So I like looking at all the stuff on the ground. All right. Get in the helicopter and just fly around and just like look at all these spots. Back up a little bit, because if I do need to disengage the autopilot, I need to do it from this button down here on the yoke, otherwise it's going to yell at me. Let's see how close we come to this plane landing itself. Doing a good job.
100.
Okay, there we go. That's interesting. So it disengages automatically.
30, 20, 10,
contact the ATC and get clearance for. There's no. Oh well. There's no. What's it called? No ground people. I thought there was going to be. Well, let's make a U-turn and see if there is somebody on the ground there. Let's disengage the hose and let's make a U-turn. See if somebody is on the ground. We are turning very slowly. Jesus Christ. I don't think there will be somebody to an air marshal, but I just want to see. The only airport that I'm aware of that always has air marshals, regardless of what you do with the ATC, is Innsbruck over in Austria. It's LOWI, I think is the airport code. Over here. See, that is. I really am gonna get in a helicopter. Not tonight, but I want to get in a helicopter and look at what all the fuss is about, man. There's so many points of interest around here. That's crazy. That's what I mean. Like, how long did it take the developers to figure out what they want to have as their parameters for points of interest? Like, they just plug in like parameters, or do they have to like go into each area and choose individually like everything? All right, let's exit here. See if anybody is at any of the gates. I don't see anybody. We're supposed to be over there. All right, well, let's go off-roading a little bit, I guess. Never been here before, so wasn't really sure where to go. Truck's coming over here. He's like, stop! You're tearing up my lawn. Move out of the way, truck. I'm gonna run you over. You know what? I stand corrected. I think I see people. Coming in at the wrong angle, but still people there. Yeah, we don't have anybody that's directing us. Oh well. It was a nice thought. All right, let's stop here, put our parking brake on. Make sure our thrusters are in idle. All right, thrusters are in idle. Let's turn off our transponder. That thing in standby. Go ahead and turn on the APU. Never did turn on the runway turn-off lights, but that's okay. Go ahead and do that. Let's do that. Do that. Set this back to 0. This to 0. Turn on the lead. Go ahead and turn off those 2 pumps. Turn off these. Off the yaw dampener. Turn off the emergency lights. Turn on the APU generators. Turn these to off. Take the fuel off. And let's come over here and stairs connected. And let's set the chocks. And let's go ahead and where we go. Stairs. Should the doors open? There we go. Let's do the back also. Aft. And let's do request a passenger bus, and let's do the air stairs there as well. There's the bus for our passengers. Entry aft, let's open that door. See if the stairs come down there as well. Go. There's the stair bus right there. Acting very good. So the passengers are unloading. And we can actually click here. Let's go here. And 0. Start the planing. And let's go ahead and press the trucks. 0 here. And 0 here. You don't see any bags moving or anything like that, but it does do it with now, if we were to use the ATC and do ground, if we were to do the baggage and all that from the ATC, then you'll see bags and stuff going up and down the ramps. But PMDG, when they put this out for Xbox. I guess they didn't write that code. All right, let's go ahead and this off. Let's put these off. And let's go ahead and I guess we can turn the APU off now and turn the battery off, and that should end our flight. Are we going to get a flight log or anything? No flight log. Oh well. Yeah, there's a truck there, little truck. So that was a cool flight, man. I had fun with that one. That was a cool little flight. So that's it for tonight's airplane show, y'all. We are done for the night. I'm going to go eat some dinner, then I got to do a couple of things for work. So I appreciate anybody who stopped by today. I will be back tomorrow. Please click subscribe. Please click the like button. You know, I might be back later in the night with an actual game, not simulator. We'll see. But anyways, if I don't see y'all until tomorrow, I hope you have a great rest of the Thursday. Excuse me, and I will see y'all tomorrow. Please subscribe.